There's a specific kind of fear that has nothing to do with what you can see. It hits you before anything happens, before any reason. Your body just stops. And somewhere underneath the confusion, something ancient in you whispers wrong. This is wrong. Don't move. Most people ignore it. That's usually where the story ends badly. Texas, a journalist named Brian Bethel is parked alone at night outside a strip mall, writing an email on his laptop. Quiet area, nothing going on, normal night, and then that feeling hits him, out of nowhere. No trigger, no reason, just this suffocating dread that he later described as the most intense fear he'd ever felt in his life. And he hadn't even looked up yet. When he did, there were two boys standing right outside his window. Young, 10, maybe 12, regular clothes. One of them knocked on the glass and asked for a ride home. Calm voice, polite, nothing off about the words themselves. Brian's hand moved toward the door handle. He said that later, that his hand actually moved, like the decision wasn't entirely his. Then the cloud shifted. Streetlight caught their faces. Their eyes were completely black. Not dark brown, not dilated, black. Solid, flat black from edge to edge, like someone had removed everything human about them and left just absence. No iris, no white, nothing. Brian drove away and didn't stop. When he posted about it online, he expected people to think he'd lost his mind. What he got instead were messages from people saying they'd seen the same thing. Not after reading his story, before. People who'd never heard his name describing the same eyes, the same stillness, the same voice, the same feeling in their chest before they even got to the door. That's the part that doesn't let me go. You can dismiss one person. You can't dismiss the pattern. Because the descriptions don't just overlap. They're almost identical across decades, across countries, across people who have zero connection to each other. They always come in pairs. Always kids, somewhere between 6 and 16. Dressed normally but slightly off, like the clothes are from a few years ago. Like they exist just outside of the present. They ask for something small, a ride, to use your phone, to come inside because they're cold or lost or scared. But they always ask. They never push, never force. They wait for you to say yes. That specific detail, the asking, the needing permission, shows up in almost every account without fail. And if you know anything about how certain things are described across folklore, you know that there's a category of entity that operates exactly that way, that cannot cross a threshold without being invited. That your consent isn't a politeness, it's a requirement. Make of that what you will. Now let's talk about what happens to the people who say yes. That specific detail, the asking, the needing permission, shows up in almost every account without fail. And if you know anything about how certain things are described across folklore, across religious traditions, across cultures that never had contact with each other, you know that there's a category of entity that operates exactly that way, that cannot cross a threshold without being invited. That your consent isn't a politeness, it's a requirement. Make of that what you will. Now let's talk about what happens to the people who say yes. There's an account. The woman never gave her full name. Publicly, she lived alone out in rural Midwest. Middle of nowhere, basically. One night around midnight, she hears a soft knock. He opens the door and there are two kids standing in the rain. No car, no houses nearby. Just two children completely soaked, asking to come in and use her phone. She felt it, that wrongness. But she saw kids in the rain and everything human in her pushed past it. She stepped back and let them in. The second they crossed the doorway, the warmth left the room. Not like a draft, like warmth itself was no longer allowed there. Her dog, who'd been sleeping on the couch, woke up, looked at them once, and silently walked to the bedroom. Didn't bark. Didn't growl. Just removed itself. She said that was the moment she understood she'd made a mistake. Because that dog had never been afraid of anything. The kids sat at her kitchen table, hands flat on the surface, facing forward. They didn't look around the room, didn't fidget, didn't do any of the things a child does when they're in an unfamiliar place. They just sat there like they were waiting for something she didn't know she was supposed to give.
She couldn't move, not paralyzed. Exactly, more like the thought of doing anything kept dissolving before it could form. Like her own mind had gone quiet in a way she'd never experienced before or since. She doesn't know how long it lasted. When it broke, she told them to leave. They stood up immediately, walked to the door, stepped outside, and were gone. No argument, no reaction, just gone. For 3 weeks she didn't sleep right. Her dog wouldn't go near the kitchen, and every night around midnight, she'd wake up with the absolute certainty that something was just outside her window. She never saw them again, but she said she never fully stopped feeling like she was still being watched. Other people describe variations of the same aftermath. A heaviness that doesn't lift. Animals dying with no explanation. Hours that go missing with no memory to fill them. One man said he let 2 kids into his car for what felt like a few minutes and arrived home 2 hours later with no idea where the time went. What are they? I've sat with this question for a long time, and I still don't have a clean answer. Demonic entities, alien hybrids, something that's always been here, older than any name we have for it, that found a new shape to wear. A collective hallucination built from isolation and fear, and the specific vulnerability of being alone at night. Maybe none of those are right. Maybe the right answer is something we don't have a framework for yet. But here's what every single account has in common, and I mean everyone. Without exception, the fear came first, before the eyes, before any visual, before any logical reason to feel anything at all. Brian's hands were shaking before he looked up. That woman's dog ran before she had time to process what she was seeing. The body knew before the mind did. Every time, like something in our biology still remembers what that presence means, even though we've long since stopped believing in the things that carry it. We override that feeling constantly. We call it irrational. We tell ourselves there's a reasonable explanation. We reach for the door handle because the thinking part of our brain says there's nothing there. Every person who got away did the same thing. They stopped reaching. So I'll just say this. If you're ever standing at your door late at night and that feeling shows up, that specific sourceless, heavy wrongness with no name, you don't need to see their eyes to know. Don't open it.